We should have had that there the whole time, but it's fine. Welcome to the Embracing Parenthood podcast. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Nick.
After launching a product in August of 2022 into the marketplace called The Embrace, it's a product for expecting mothers, we just thought that the Embracing Parenthood podcast is something that we needed to get out there.
I think we have this product now that has put us into discussions about having children and being pregnant and all of the experiences that you'll have. And there really isn't anything out there right now that an expecting parent can listen to that goes over the day-to-day things that you'll experience, that goes over some of the products out there, some of the different lifestyles that you can have, some of the different things that you're going to experience with your child as they get older. So we're going to go over some of those things. And today we kind of wanted to introduce ourselves to you guys before we do that.
So you want to take it back to the very beginning?
I think that's the best place to start.
So back in 2018, I was recently divorced and you were newly single.
Okay.
And I don't want to speak for you, but I know I wasn't really looking for anything at the time.
Definitely not.
And we just both happened to be at a bar in town, but I was with some of your mutual friends.
Yeah.
And I was sitting at a table and some guy was supposed to be joining us later that evening and turned around and there you were.
Yeah, I think it's funny you said that. Like, I know that I wasn't looking for anything, but I knew what I didn't want. Like
right.
I'd been, I don't want to say in a bunch of bad relationships, but definitely the wrong relationships
right.
for me.
Yeah.
And, after you have bad experiences, you know what you don't want. I think I thought at the time I wanted to be single, that I needed to figure myself out, but I definitely didn't need to figure myself out. I think truly I was in a really good place as a person, and it took the right person showing up in my life to help me realize that, to have the confidence to be happy with all the good things that I was doing on my own.
It's not just about the right person. Timing is so important too. And it was right place, right time, and right person. Like you have to have that trifecta kind of all in line for everything to really just click. And I think that when people say that they fell in love at first sight, I think those three things kind of have to line up for that to happen.
And the best way to do that is obviously getting drunk with your friends at a bar. So that's what we did for like a year.
We didn't get drunk that night. Well, I left really early.
Speak for yourself. But
we did the next night though.
Yeah, I think
the next time
we started, like we both had kids. I have a daughter. Her name is Delaney. She's 10 years old. She wasn't 10 at the time. I think she was 5.
Not even. She was about to turn 5, I think.
I say she's 10. She's 9.5. She's such a big girl now. She was 4 or 5 at the time when we met. She lives in another state, which is a whole nother story that we'll cover one of these days. But Sarah had Luke, and he was young.
He was 18 months old.
Yeah, a year and a half. We had these adult things going on in our lives, but we also had this desire to do things together that we couldn't do in our prior relationships.
Right. I got married when I was 22, but I had been with that person since I was like 19. So I was really finally, for the first time, able to act like a 20-something-year-old.
Yeah, and I had been in a relationship with someone whose idea of a good time was watching awful movies and not going anywhere or doing anything. And so what did we do? We traveled the country and we went to a bunch of concerts and really got to know each other in incredibly intimate and awkward Airbnb situations and through stressful traveling situations
Yeah.
and through spending time with our children.
Family events, and
our relationship got thrown to the wolves, and we moved in together quickly.
yeah, like 9 months, right? After like 9 months.
Yeah, I think my living situation at the time probably contributed to that.
Nah, I was trying to get you in my house.
It's the hot, crazy matrix for sure. But I think who we were as a couple made that possible.
Right.
When anybody else would say, you're moving too fast, that's not a smart move for the longevity of your relationship. We were like,
It just felt natural. Didn't feel forced at all.
but that's what dating was like before I was dating you. Like,
Right.
I was like, I really don't want to be here, but I got to be on a date. I got to be meeting people if I'm ever going to find like a good person.
Yeah.
And funny things, like I was finally just happy just hanging out with my guy friends and not, swiping right on Bumble. And there you are, sweeping me off my feet. We went to is it a Garth Brooks concert?
Garth Brooks. Yeah. That was our first show. No, at the cook-off we saw Kevin Fowler.
That's right. So we went to the cook-off, and
Our first unofficial first date.
I was supposed to go with a bunch of buddies, but a couple of them canceled. So you
scooped me up.
Yeah, I was like, hey,
to quote you.
Do you want to come? And it was really informal because I wasn't like intending.
But you were coming out of your way to pick me up. Like, you lived south and you drove all the way like 30 minutes north to pick me up. And I was like, ooh, it's a date for sure.
Yeah. And I can see why you feel that way now.
Because I could have just as easily met you.
But like,
house.
If you ask any of my friends, like, I'm the guy that drives anyway. I'm the one that just, because, well, they were all idiots, or that they still are. I love you guys. But, they needed somebody to make sure that they didn't end up in a ditch. That was always me. But anyway, I think that first time that we hung out, it was clear that it wasn't going to be the last time we hung out.
Yeah.
So what happened next?
We started going to shows. It was rodeo season. We went to Garth Brooks. Our second date was Garth Brooks. And then the next one was Cody Johnson, right?
We went to a lot of shows.
We went to like 80. What did we go to? 80 shows in 2018?
80 something. It was wild.
Yeah. I mean, 3 of those were big music festivals.
Yeah.
But still.
And then my daughter was 5 when she came down for the first time. And Sarah was really helpful. She literally lent me furniture to furnish a room for my daughter and help me design it. So that Delaney had a place to go.
We basically just transported my entire guest room to your house.
Yeah, so that I wanted her to feel special, but
Right.
I didn't have the financial resources to just buy furniture that I didn't have a place for when I moved not long after that. I knew I had to be out of there anyway. My roommate was selling his house, and so the clock was ticking, and I just needed my daughter to have a place to go, and I didn't know where I was going yet, and Sarah was great.
I mean,
Great.
even the curtains. We even took the curtains down and put them up in your.
Yeah, it was like a true
Like,
girl's room.
Yeah.
Pink everything.
Pink and unicorns. That was a fun trip when she came down.
Yeah, and I think it helped us evaluate our relationship from a different perspective too. Like, I was hanging out with you and Luke anyway.
Right. So I think for me, what made our story even more special and what made me fall in love with Nick so quickly was that his daughter lived in Pennsylvania and my biological dad lived in Pennsylvania my entire life. So at the age of 4, I started flying by myself across the country to see him a couple times a year. And situations were a little bit different. My dad was active duty military and he was remarried with, at the time, he had another son. So he couldn't, drop what he was doing and fly down to see me all the time. Although I really wish that he had been able to do that. But then I meet Nick and he is flying across the country to Pennsylvania 1 weekend a month, every month. And I was just blown away. Like, wow, what an incredible man. What a dedicated father. And no, seriously, it makes me emotional thinking about it because I was literally in my now stepdaughter's shoes at one point in time. And so when I heard she was coming down here to Texas, I really was able to take what I knew I wanted when I would go see my dad and my stepmom. I wanted to take what I knew I wanted and give that to her. So like, I never had my own room with my dad. I always had to share a room with like my sister or my brother. So I knew that when she came down, I wanted her to have her own space. And she still does to this day in our house.
Yeah.
I want her to have her own bed, her own bathroom, her own dresser. Like, this is your home. You're not a guest here. And I take that very seriously. And I used to always really want one-on-one time with my dad. And I kind of always had to share that with my other siblings and my stepmom, who I adore, but as a 4 and 5-year-old, you can't really explain that to them. So when she came down here, I really kind of made an effort to put some like fun little activities together for them to do together. Like, I think I pre-made cookie dough and like laid them out so that y'all could ice them and decorate them. And, I think we took her to the pool at that resort that one day. And
yeah, you were definitely.
That was a big part of our love story, though.
Yeah, your experiences helped me understand what would be important to Lainey, and I don't know that I would have known those things otherwise. I don't know how I would have known them.
Yeah,
because she didn't know what to tell me, and I think she was excited.
Yeah.
About having her own room at home. She still kind of shared a bed with her mom in Pennsylvania. And so she felt like a big girl traveling on a plane, coming to see me. My dog had always been in the background. We FaceTimed all the time before that so that I could talk to her when I wasn't able to see her. And like, my dog knew who she was just from talking to her, wouldn't leave her side. And a big part of all of that being so special was the insight that your experiences had allowed you to experience on your own. And I know that your dad probably wished that he could have done the things that I was in a position to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Financially, it was fortunate for me that I was renting a tiny room from a guy that is a good friend of mine, but he was selling that house, and I had to go. I mean, I had to find a place to live, and I'd lived there for years.
Yeah.
And he'd always had other people in and out of that guest bedroom, or it was a 3-bedroom house. So one of the bedrooms was empty because our other roommate had left. And we timed that trip, and it really, that whole experience really added to our relationship in a wildly unexpected and beautiful way. I mean, we were already close to inseparable before that.
Yeah.
But I had my guard up. You had your guard up. We were trying to, I don't know if you had your guard up.
I didn't have my guard up. I have no poker face. I still don't.
I had my guard up.
You did, for sure. I knew you did.
I was being more careful because this was something I didn't want to screw up. And I was definitely in the best position to screw up our relationship. Like, I was still goofy and hanging out with my buddies and drinking beer and doing stupid stuff. And, I think it was so important to me that I needed to make sure that the things that I started to kind of tamper down on and take away from my single life, that those were easy things to give up for the right reasons.
I don't feel like I ever had to like pull you away from your friends to spend time with me. We were always together.
We were. And that's one of the reasons why I think we did what we did so quickly, is because it was easy for me to do that.
Yeah.
The problem was that in my prior relationships, I felt obligated to leave those friends and those things behind, the things that I enjoyed to do behind. And I was doing them with you now.
I was gonna say, I think it was helpful that your friends became my friends.
Yeah. And so it was like I left that door open probably a little too long. I had a bad experience with losing friends in a bad relationship in the past, and I didn't want that to happen again.
Yeah, I understand that.
And it didn't. And you made it really easy. There was no turning back once we bought a house together.
So we were Nick moved into my house when your lease was up, when your roommate sold his house. I remember it was Christmas time, and I looked over at you and I was like, "You want to move in with me?" And you were like, "Yeah, I do." I was like, all right, come on. So, you didn't have much to move in. You had your little bedroom in that rental house,
10 by 10.
your 10 by 10 cube. We moved you moved you into my house that was in another town. And we knew we wanted to be in a suburb a little bit further south than where we were. So we started looking for houses and we put an offer in on a house. And I think like 2 weeks after our offer was accepted, maybe not even 2 weeks, we found out I was pregnant. We were like, wow, we timed that perfectly because, yeah, that's the timeline.
Is it?
Yes, we didn't even know I was pregnant. And we were like, thank God we got this house because this one bedroom is so big. It'll be perfect for the twins.
I mean, I barely know how old our kids are, as you guys already heard. So
I remember the timeline.
They're not my strong suit. But
we knew we wanted to move to the town that we're in now.
Yeah, I mean, we knew your house where you were at
was too small.
Dating was too small for us to grow our family.
Right.
And we knew we wanted to grow our family. And we
eventually
knew that we were going to, yeah, for sure.
Eventually.
Not like the next day as it happened. But I remember it a little bit differently, I think because it was such a special time for me.
Yeah.
Like, it was my first home. That was mine. Like it wasn't a room I was renting from you or from someone else. Like this was our house.
Right.
And like I was a part of us, you know?
Yeah.
And that was special to me. And the way that it worked out, like we contacted a realtor, put your house on the market, and the next day had an asking price offer.
We closed within like 2 weeks of putting it on the market. It was crazy.
And then found this other house that had been on the market forever that we just loved. Like the first time we drove down that street, there were children playing. Everybody was so nice.
I think it was the first house we looked at too. One of the only houses we looked at, actually. I don't remember looking at a bunch of other houses.
It was listed way under market value for where it was at. Like it was just, it needed some work, but we were a little too optimistic about that work.
That didn't end up working out in our favor, but we got the house.
I'm no general contractor, I'll tell you that.
You're not, but
I tried.
You tried.
Was it 2 weeks?
It was because I remember the offer was accepted on Valentine's Day. Because remember you took me to lunch that day from work and we celebrated getting the house. It was on Valentine's Day of 2019. And then we found out right after that wedding we went to in Cabo that I was pregnant. It was like 2 weeks after that. Because you were telling everybody about the house at the wedding.
Because we went to that honky tonk and had that.
That was end of January.
Our cowboy hats and tequila night. And
yeah. That's what makes twins, in case you were wondering.
That's the recipe.
That's the recipe.
So yeah, I mean, we hadn't been in the house long, but it's crazy to think that we'd only been in that house for a really short period of time.
That was why I couldn't help move. That's why we had to hire movers, because I couldn't lift anything because I was pregnant.
That's right. We did a simultaneous close. I do not recommend that to anyone. We literally had movers at the house at like 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning.
We did a close in the same day.
We pre-packed everything and closed on the house we were selling first because they couldn't transfer the funds for the second house until the first house
We
closed.
had to sit there and wait for the funds to clear.
But the people actually owned the house that we were living in beforehand for like 3 hours while we were still moving stuff out because it was so much stuff. They had to fill 2 trucks.
Both of our moves we've done have been incredibly stressful.
I guess we'll probably talk about some of those as we move along. But yeah, you were pregnant and
we were
shocked that it was twins.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We shouldn't have been. Well, my mom's an identical twin. So, I always knew there could be a chance that I had twins, but we went to our first appointment and I straight up asked the nurse, there's just one, right? She goes, yeah, there's only one. So we're like, whew, okay, we're in the clear. One baby. And we come back like the next week and she goes, oh, there's 2 heartbeats. And I was like, what?
I think it's important that people know that we expected it to be a little bit more difficult to get pregnant.
Right. Too. That is important to know.
We weren't as careful as we should have been.
One time.
You had been.
So I had to do IVF to have my son, my oldest son that I had with my ex-husband. I have PCOS. It's something that I have always struggled with. So I had already had a fertility doctor that I had seen when I had him. And I had some issues come up with myself before we got pregnant. And so I went to see my old fertility doctor just to make sure everything was okay. I didn't want to miss out on a window if I was going to need to freeze embryos or something like that for Nick and I to have children together one day. And I went and he checked me out and he was like, no, you're okay. But yes, you do have very polycystic ovaries and you will for sure have to do IVF to have another baby. And I went home to him and I was very somber. And I told him what the doctor had told me and he was like, it's okay. When we're ready, we'll definitely do that. And then I think literally that weekend,
all the condoms went in the trash. That was it.
Yeah. We're like, okay, so we don't have to be careful anymore. Like we have been for the last year.
We were so responsible.
We were. And then we weren't one time. And you impregnated me with twins, Basil.
It was certainly not my intent to do that.
So anyways, but my mother is an identical twin. And ironically, my stepmother is also an identical twin.
Your dad definitely has a type.
Oh, gross. Not that my stepmom and I are related by blood, but we are very close. So I think it rubs off on you in some way.
Maybe.
There's got to be some reason, some explanation for that. Maybe someone can chime in one day and
we'll get there.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll have a twin episode one day.
That would be fun.
But what made this journey so relevant to the point that we're at now is you had a really difficult pregnancy.
For sure.
It started with a series of progesterone shots where I had to become a nurse for 3 months. And I mean, your butt was just one giant bruise.
Yeah.
For months, I was putting shots in your thighs and in your butt every night.
So even though we did get pregnant naturally thank God I had gone to that appointment with the fertility doctor just to get checked out because he did tell me, hey, if you ever get pregnant on your own, on the smallest, slightest chance you get pregnant on your own, call me immediately because we'll need to monitor your hormones to make sure you don't miscarry. So that was what we did. And I was going in like twice a week to have blood drawn. And for like the first 3 weeks, every appointment, your progesterone is dropping. Your progesterone is dropping. So they put me on progesterone suppositories, remember? And he was like, they weren't working. He was like, your body, like your levels are still dropping. So I went from like 1 a day to 2 a day to 2 twice a day. And they were just like, you're going to have to do the shots. So, I mean, if we hadn't known to do that and would not have had that medical intervention, we would have miscarried them.
Yeah. And I mean, Nurse Nick saved the day there.
You were incredible.
It was hard.
Yeah.
It was really hard because it hurt. And
it was so painful.
There was a point in time where there was nowhere left to stick you where you hadn't been stuck before very recently. And it was tough. And we cried together every night we had to do it.
Yeah.
And then your back just started hurting so bad so early. And it wasn't even look at how big you are with twins.
It was the way they were positioned.
It was where they were inside you. Yeah, it was wild. Like we would go to these sonogram appointments and you're like, they are literally burrowing in the bottom of my belly.
No, Landon was up under, they were both on the right side. It was weird. Landon was up under my rib. I still have no feeling in the bottom rib on my right side.
Because he was just pushing on the outside of your belly.
I had like nerve damage. And then Logan was way down low on the right side. So they were both on the right. So I just had like shooting pains down my right leg. They were Logan was on that sciatic nerve on that right side. And oh my God, it was just debilitating.
So you got to a point where you were literally willing to do anything to relieve that pain.
And I did. I did everything I could think of.
Everything natural. You tried all of the belly bands and the various like massage techniques and
acupressure, acupuncture,
all this stuff. And we found like a medicine woman and
holistic physical therapist.
Yeah. And she, no lie, moved them with pressure on your stomach and then taped your belly.
It was the wildest thing I've ever experienced. She would press.
But she felt good.
I would scream in pain while she was doing it. And then I would walk out of there in no pain, like 0 pain level.
But it only lasted for
until I took the tape off.
A day or two, because the tape would start to hurt and taking the tape off was the hardest part.
Oh,
Like
so painful.
all those little hairs would just rip off your stomach, and it was like you had a rash.
Well, the bigger my stomach got, the thinner my skin got. And so
Yeah.
it was just, it was not fun.
So it got to a point where like your skin couldn't tolerate the tape anymore. You just couldn't do it.
I couldn't.
You were on bed rest at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't going to work. You couldn't even.
I was working from home.
It hurt. It hurt to. Yeah, but I think you were driving like 40 minutes for work.
I was, yeah.
Work.
And you even bought me a recliner to put in my office at work so that I could go into work. I was afraid they were going to make me start my maternity leave early, and then I was going to have to go back to work like right after they were born.
Sure.
So you got me that recliner off of Facebook Marketplace and took it to my office. Remember?
Yeah, so you can get off your feet and not be in a desk.
Because they
chair.
wanted my feet elevated.
Yeah.
That was what the doctor wanted. And then I think not even like a week after that recliner got brought up there, the doctor was like, this isn't cutting it. You need to get in bed.
They let you work from home part-time so that you didn't have to start your maternity leave. But I mean, you were on bed rest. And you were, at that point in time, thankfully we had an adjustable base bed, but you were in bed with your feet elevated.
Best money we ever spent.
We had this, I mean, was he 3?
Luke wasn't even 3 yet.
He was 2.
He turned 3 right before they were born.
August, yeah, he was 2. And they weren't supposed to be due until November
1st.
And you were on bed rest in
June, I think.
June or July. So we had a long way to go. And there were all these things that I was now having to do at the house. We were a team. And then you were physically unable to help with laundry and cleaning and cooking. And taking care of, our 2-year-old.
Our nonverbal 2-year-old. That was the hardest year of my life. Oh my gosh.
We have the sweetest 6-year-old boy who is just a little autistic and
high functioning.
The sweetest kid. But back then he just didn't know how to tell you what he needed.
Yeah.
And he's come a long way. We'll get there. But at that time,
we didn't even have his diagnosis yet. So we just didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah. And I was full-time attorney. I've got my own law office that I'm running. I'm running this house full time. And like there was nothing I could do to make you comfortable.
And I was laying there crying, feeling like a useless lump of nothing. Like, what good am I? I couldn't do anything.
But while you were laying there, you were like,
there's got to be a better way.
There's got to be this tape works. It does something that nothing else on the market does. And I remember like you drew this picture.
Terrible picture.
I mean, you are not.
I am not a sketch artist.
No, definitely
I still have that original drawing.
We should get it framed.
I'm going to frame it.
Super cool. But it's not altogether different than what the Embrace looks like
today.
No,
not at all.
And
concept's the same.
So we had this product, and that was the summer of 2019. And it took us, there were some bumps along the way, but it took us 3 years to get that product created,
from idea
branded, from idea to product in hand, ready to sell. And we're super excited about it.
We should have had that there the whole time, but it's fine.
It took us 3 years to go from idea to product ready to sell. And it's not something that we rushed.
Mm-mm.
We took every careful step, tried a bunch of different prototypes,
different fabrics, different threads, different hook closures. We tested it every time.
Different ways.
Yeah.
And we're super proud of it. And we know that you're going to love it. And because of that, we've kind of been involved in so many parenting discussions that we never thought we'd be in.
Right.
And learning so much about all of your different lives and all of your different experiences. And we want to share what other people are talking about with you guys. We want to share what those discussions are about with you guys. And so that's what's coming. That's what this podcast is going to be about. It's about embracing parenthood. And I think you're going to love it.
Yeah. I didn't want the Embrace to just be a product that women buy one time and then they don't ever hear from us again. I really wanted the Embrace to become a brand that is for moms all the way through, from conception to parenting. And I think it's really important that moms find their tribe, that moms find their people. And so we've already done a couple of little events here locally that we've put on to help. We've invited mothers in the community because we want to help bring moms together. So that's something that's really important to me. And I hope this podcast can kind of do the same type of thing, but maybe just bring listeners together and we can get callers on and get guests on and just get moms together, help them out.
I think that's a really important point.
It could be lonely.
The Embrace is about allowing a mom to continue to live her life as much as possible while she's pregnant, to put that pain to the back of her mind, because the Embrace has got you. It's got you covered. It's making you feel better. You can wear it. You can go out and do things that you would be on bed rest otherwise.
Right.
And the other products on the market are about making you comfortable at home, or you got to walk around looking like you lift weights.
Yeah. It looks like a weightlifter belt.
Yeah. And this is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It allows you to still take care of your toddler,
right?
Still do some laundry, still do some dishes, or if you're still going to work, still go to work, and you can slap it on under a suit and rock and roll. It's one of those things that we want to be involved in those discussions. We want to hear how it works, how people are doing, and everything else that they're doing, what they're doing to make their lives better as a pregnant woman about to have a child, as a young parent. What are you experiencing? What's going on in your life? And we're going to talk about all of those things. And we want the podcast to be short and sweet and informative, but also fun. Mm-hmm. And we want you guys to feel like a part of our lives, because right now we really feel like because of the Embrace, we have become a part of so many people's lives. And I think it's important to share that. And I know that's what we want to do.
Absolutely.
So we've tried to figure out how to put together a format for a podcast, because we all listen to different podcasts. I listen to murder mystery podcast and news podcast, and Sarah listens to podcasts about celebrities. And
no, I like the podcast where they go and they rewatch their old shows together and they talk about each episode. It's my One Tree Hill and Laguna Beach. Oh my gosh.
I'm not sure how those aren't celebrities, but
it's not about their celebrity. It's about the show.
You love celebrity drama.
I mean, it's not my drama, so of course I like it.
That's not something I listen to. So I think your podcasts are a lot different. But
yeah.
Because we're a family and this is a family-oriented podcast, we told ourselves that we're going to start making commitments to our listeners about things that we're going to do in our lives that we think will make our lives better and make us better parents, make our children happier, and make our lives healthier. And hopefully, as we work through those things and share them with you, it'll help you guys, and you can, critique us and help us better our lives, and we can all help each other. So what are some things that you're going to work on this week to be the best mom and parent? And
I would say this is a personal goal. I had one for each of us in mind in case you were going to throw that one at me, but
I'm here for you.
Thanks. I know you are. I'm really big into fitness, #fitness, right? You used to tease me about that when we were dating. Working out is a big part of my identity. When we can get into that in another episode, but working out's important to me, and I am back into a corporate role. I took some time off to be with the kids for a little while, but now I'm back in the corporate world as well as the entrepreneurial world. Fitness has kind of taken a back seat, and I don't really have the time to do it. I don't have the time to do it during the day, and I don't have the energy to do it in the evening. I don't really have the ability to in the evening too, because I can't put all the kids on your plate when you're usually still working really late. So my goal is at least once a week to get up before the sun and work out in the morning before the kids wake up.
So I think my goal is very similar.
Say what?
Definitely not fitness oriented.
Say what? Nick Dillard's going to come to the gym?
No, I am not.
Making my dreams come true.
Maybe one day when I get this back fixed somehow, some way, we could talk about that. But what I want to do is stop working until 10 or 11 o'clock.
Oh, yes. Dear Jesus, please. Thank you.
I start at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning every day, and I'm not done till 10 or 11, 6 or 7 days a week.
So what's the goal? Computer down by what time?
I can't commit to putting my computer down until the work is done. It's just not how it works. It's got to be finished. My goal is to work as hard as I can to get those things done in the typical workday so that I can be here with you guys, not just from 5 to 7 when the kids go down, like
Yeah.
to actually spend quality time with you guys and do things that the reason I'm working so hard is so that we can do those things, and work really takes me away from the little moments that I miss.
But I think a lot of the time you have to work, or you have been working that late because you don't ever want to tell me no. So if I'm like, hey, I want to go to a 5:30 spin class, are you going to be home from work? You're like, well, I wouldn't have been, but I will now. And then you don't get home till 6:30. And then I've taken an hour and a half away from your ability to work. So I will help you make that goal happen too, by not putting, stuff on your plate in the evenings if I don't have to.
So you have 2 goals?
No, I'm just saying I'm going to help you reach your goal too. Cause I'm here for you.
I don't know how I can help you get to the gym.
You can't, other than just kick me out of bed.
And also tell you, no, I'm not coming home from work early. But I'd like to think that those things can go hand in hand. So
I don't want to work out at 5. I'm not a 5:30 a.m. gal, but it's good for my mental health. So I really want to try and go.
Well, next week when we record the podcast, we'll let you guys know how we did and how we think we could have done better or it would have been easier.
Please check out The Embrace on our website, www.theembrace.com. Check us out. We sell sweatshirts that, are the best. And then we have The Embrace on there as well. And you want to subscribe to our podcast, you can subscribe to it
at the link below.
I
don't know how we're doing
or
that.
Above.
So we've got a producer.
Or to the left.
Somewhere there is a link that you can subscribe to.
We'll be on Spotify, Apple Music, for sure.
I don't know where we're going to be.
YouTube.
Wherever we are, find us. And join us. And I hope you enjoy this awesome journey that we're on. I know you laughed a lot. I know you cried a little bit, but it's going to get even better.
They laughed at your Mickey Mouse shirt. That's what they were laughing at.
I mean, some people are listening.
For the ones that are watching on YouTube, we actually embraced parenthood literally when we came to film this episode.
How long have you been holding that in your back pocket?
I mean, for the last hour, for sure.
You had to work it in.
I had to work it in right there at the end.
Way to go. All right. Well, thank you for listening, and subscribe, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
That muscle milk.
Oh yeah, I don't do that stuff's not good. I don't drink that anymore. But working out is
Unless
a huge.
They want to sponsor, and then we're drinking.